All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions here today. I want to go through a couple of things because 24 hours from now, the Detroit Lions will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Kind of a rematch of 2023, the first year the Lions, put it all together, won the NFC North, and have become the Lions that we've seen the last few years. They are decimated with injuries right now, but I still think that Detroit comes away with this victory here. They are made and built to win these types of football games, and we're going to talk about all of it, but just for some context here, there's going to be no Giovanni Manu, there's going to be no Taylor Decker, there's going to be no Avonte Maddox, no Sione Vaki, no Zach Cunningham, no Terrion Arnold, and they're also learning still game time decisions as far as right now goes. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, Khalif Raymond as well, but does seem like those three will play because they have not been, out of the game. They've not been downgraded to out. So I think Detroit right now, they look like the best team in football, and we're still early on in the season. We're only 5 games. This is going to be week 6, so we're like 33% of the way there. And Detroit just looks like the best team. 13-point win against Cincinnati, 24 points against Cleveland, 8 points in a huge game against Baltimore with a healthy Lamar Jackson. They had 31-point win against Chicago, coming back from that week 1 loss against Green Bay Packers. And the whole thing is this. Offensively, they're the number 1 offense in football, which is so sweet, and they've done such a good job at protecting Jared Goff. Jared Goff has done such a good job, but what really gets me excited is this defense. We've done a couple of film studies on this channel. Meek Robertson, Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, Al-Qadim Muhammad. There are 2 statistics that really pop out to me. And, first off, just for some more context with defense, 16th in opponents' points per game. They're 12th in opponents' passing per game. They are a top 7 rushing unit in the NFL right now. But most importantly, at least in my opinion here, they're 3rd in sacks in the entire NFL. The Detroit Lions are 3rd in sacks, even with all these injuries on the defense. And they're also 4th in takeaways. They're averaging just a little under 2 per game. This team, now, I get it, man. It's a Lions channel, which, by the way, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. I don't want to give, I don't want to speak too far into the future because it just feels like a really good year for the Detroit Lions to make their move. We're 6 games into the season once again, and there's been no clear-cut favorite in either the AFC, the NFC, or the NFL. And for me personally, I think Detroit is fitting into that category, but, tomorrow night's going to tell us a lot more. They're the number 1 offense in the NFL without Ben Johnson. And Kelvin Shepard's done a great job with the defense, but they are putting up 35 points per game. And what's really fascinating is the statistics, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, they've been really solid this year. They're 7th in rushing yards, which is good. The advanced analytics aren't necessarily as good, but who really cares about advanced analytics unless maybe in certain situations. They're 12th in passing yards per game because when you're winning by 31, 24, even 13, you don't have to throw the football too much. But Jared Goff entered Hall of Fame conversations this past week. I'm not quite sure what started that narrative, but he's having a phenomenal season. I mean, he's had a phenomenal career. Through the first 5 weeks of this year, Jared Goff has completed a league-leading 75.2% of his passes. He's also thrown for 12 touchdowns, which is the most in the NFL. He only has 2 interceptions so far. He's taking care of the football. He's got a success rate of 55.6%, which would be the highest mark of his career. So Jared Goff is playing like an all-pro. He's playing like the MVP. I think he might even be, he's at least in the discussions, but he might be the MVP if the season were to end today. And what's scary is this team is not clicked fully. Don't really expect a team to click fully in week 5, week 6. But this guy feels like, the sky's truly the limit. This team is so freaking good. And they're not even playing their best football. You go back to Cincinnati, they dominated that game. They even dominated against Cleveland. And then in the 4th quarter, they officially put him away. Cincy, technically came back to make that differential of 13 a little bit better. But this Detroit team, man, it feels like the most rounded team in the league. And when we take a look, people are freaking out about their schedule and how difficult it is without realizing this team is literally built to beat a team like Kansas City on the road in week 6 of this season. You got Tampa next week, huge game. Then they can finally get healthy heading into their week 8 bye. You've got Minnesota, Washington, Philly, New York, Green Bay, Dallas, Los Angeles. What a North Conference, or not North, NFC Conference. I feel like I can't talk tonight. It's been a couple of days since our last Lions video, and I don't know, for some reason, a little out of the element. Jeez, they have 2 games left against the AFC. Pittsburgh in week 16 and then tomorrow against Kansas City. But I've got a strong suspicion this team is going to win. And looking into some more specifics, specifically from that 37-24 victory against the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm expecting heavy run game here. Now, there's no left tackle. Dan Skipper is going to be the starting left tackle for this game. There's no Taylor Decker. Giovanni Manu had a not the best football game last week in the absence of Taylor Decker. But I think they're going to pound the rock. And 7th in rushing is very good. But David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery coming back home, having a phenomenal football game. Kansas City, they're a hungry team. They're coming off a tough loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars by a couple of points on the final, drive of the game for Trevor Lawrence with the stumble touchdown. David Montgomery, 18 carries in that game against Cincy. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries in that game against Cincy. As a unit, they only ran for 3.6 yards per carry, and I'm anticipating here tomorrow night, you're going to see a lot more of, guys like Brock Wright, just bigger personnel, because you're missing some left tackles there. You're missing your starting left tackle in Taylor Decker. You've got, a youngster in Christian Mahogany at left guard. You got a youngster and a rookie at right guard in Tate Ratledge. Probably going to see some heavy personnel, but I really think they're going to just ground and pound this Kansas City Chiefs defense, and then Jared Goff's obviously going to take his shots when seems fit. But man, oh man, I wanted to get ahead of this a little bit because I think Detroit's like a 2.5 point, 1.5 point underdog. People haven't really been able to figure that out. It's probably just the home field advantage. Kansas City 2-3. Hard to imagine a 2-4 Kansas City Chiefs team, but I guess Detroit is the underdog, and just kind of wanted to get it out there into the ether that I think this Detroit team is going to take care of business, and I think they're going to dominate this football game. I don't think it's going to be evident in the scoreboard, but I think you're going to finish watching that game after the Lions' victory, hopefully, and be like Detroit was, the better team out there. So that's it for today. Kind of a weird hodgepodge of Lions content, but we haven't been doing it as much as I would like, so here you go. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for more Lions content, and hopefully we see you tomorrow night or Monday morning with Victor Recap. Peace.